Which one shall we take first, Dracula?
Please, no.
Hey gang, Uncle Todd here, along with Sunny, and we're going to look at something a little different this week. Brief history lesson here. There was a thing called the Midnight Spookshow. Now this dates back to the days of vaudeville, if not even before, but the version we are most concerned with had its heyday in the 30s into the 60s. And mainly it consisted of a host who would come out on stage. There might be a skit or a magician. Then you would have a blackout sequence, which meant the lights would go out and then people in masks and costumes and gorilla costumes and monster costumes would run out into the crowd and scare the crowd. And then you'd have a film, usually an older film that wasn't very expensive. And this hit its heyday in the 50s and into the early 60s. Bela Lugosi himself used to do a spook show at one time where he would do a mad scientist skit and then show one of his old movies, usually like a monogram film, because he made quite a few of those, and those were kind of easy to come by in the 50s. Or maybe even one of his 30s films like White Zombie or something like that. But what we're watching or looking at this evening is a short called Monsters Crash the Pajama Party. It was part of a spook show. And what the selling point of this was that at one point for the blackout section, the monsters would come off the screen, run into the audience, grab someone, a Confederate who was in on the gag, and then run back up to the screen, and you would see then the monsters carrying the victim into the film itself. It opens in a very interesting way. We are given an introductory speech by the mad scientist, and you know he's a mad scientist because of how he's dressed. And also this.
Wonder how I knew you were coming, but see, sooner or later everyone passes through here.
That's right. He has a name tag. Because how else would you know he's a mad scientist if he didn't tell you he was a mad scientist? And it also clues you in on the type of humor we're going to be experiencing tonight. He gives a warning from the theater owners about what to expect and the horrors that await the audience. And then we get a most unusual way of doing the credits.
Voices by Frank Allison Coe. Sound stuff run by Roger Sword.
Yep, all the credits are narrated, and a man in a gorilla costume acts out the different positions. Director, camera operator, sound editor, all that stuff. Then we get into the main film. There's a brief opening of explanation in which a police officer and a doctor are going to this old house. And in a bit of exposition, they explain that they're trying to prevent the sororities that usually have their initiations by having the girls stay in the house overnight, and they want to prevent that. It's trespassing or something. And then, after they leave, the girls arrive.
Boy, they sure picked up places.
Hey, lights for it.
Good, that'll save our candles. What a house. It looks like Horror Hotel.
That's...
After the girls pick a room to stay in for the night, and they have some comedic hijinks with the boys before kicking them out, the boys decide they're going to go get some cheap masks and come back and scare the girls. But the girls know they're going to do that. They discuss it, and they realize, yeah, that's what's going to happen. Meanwhile, we're introduced to the mad scientist proper this time.
I see we have visitors tonight, Mad Doctor.
Yes, ain't that nice?
Are you going to extend your hospitality tonight?
Oh, I sure am. We got a lot of girls tonight. We got a lot of things to do. Eagle's gonna go up and get you one in just a few minutes now.
Now that woman next to him is Draculina. Sort of a vampire-like character. Vampire was very popular still, though not on TV anymore. Sadly, that's about her only line. She doesn't really do much in the flick. But the mad scientist, he needs one of the girls for his experiment, so he sends his gorilla to go get one. Bringing her back to the lab, the mad scientist has her strapped to a table and performs his evil experiment.
McGee, I made a terrible mistake! Terrible mistake! I've been calculating my settings! I've been calculating my settings! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back! Stay back!
After knocking out the mad scientist, the actual gorilla manages to get the gorilla back on the operating table and changes her back to a human. While this has happened, the rest of the sorority initiates have noticed their friend's missing and go to look for her, which gives us some funny bits of skulking around. Eventually, the gorilla and Igor, the scientist's assistant, manage to grab all the girls, take them back to the lab, and chain them up on the wall so the doctor can experiment with all of them. About this time, the boys have finally arrived back. They got delayed by a flat tire, but having witnessed the last abduction, they put on their Halloween masks and go to the rescue.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, who are those guys dressed up like monsters?
Yeah, how'd they know the girls were here?
What I want to know is, who are they?
Hey, I bet they're from the Delta House.
That's it. They've been trying to get even with us since last year. Looks like they had the same idea.
Oh, they're not going to get away with it. Put on your mask and let's go get them. Hey, I can't see.
So apparently everybody knows about the mad scientist and they go to that house anyways? Also, at this time, a neighbor has been noticing all the shenanigans going by next door and calls the police and has the most amazing voice you will ever hear.
University. No, I don't know the number. How many universities are in this crummy town? Just connect me with Professor Williams' office. Will you answer your phone, you big clown? Stop reading those comic books.
And we get to witness another failed experiment by the scientist.
Answer McCoy, my greatest scientific feat. Big G, I'm gonna make you disappear. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thankfully, the boys arrive to put some action into this film. The police arrive, adding to the mayhem, but the mad scientist isn't so easily stopped, because he has an awesome ray gun.
What's the big deal? I got dungeons.
The students all manage to escape, only to run into the arms of the waiting police, who arrest them for trespassing. And then comes the moment we've all been waiting for. The scientist turns the ray gun and shoots the screen.
That's good. Now, Big G, go out there in the audience and get me another girl. And you other monsters, go out and help him.
And then Gorilla goes and strikes a big gong, at which point knocks himself out. It's a pretty silly little flick, but it wasn't meant to be anything more than a spook show gag. The whole point of it was to do a thing where monsters can run through the audience and scare, the couples there with their boyfriends and girlfriends, and then after that ends, have a little break with the MC, and then your feature film, like probably something from the 50s, like Bride of the Gorilla or something, or maybe even the 40s, like The Ape Man. Who knows? But yeah, it's a fun little film. It's an interesting artifact of the time, of a type of entertainment we don't do anymore. You know, the midnight showing. I mean, not since maybe Rocky Horror have we had an audience participation thing at the theater like that. And it's something I would have liked to have experienced. Now, there was a man who wrote a book about the history of the Spook Show, and I was interested in getting it, but it's not available in Kindle. And the published work, because it's out of print, is not something I want to pay for. It's expensive. Anyway, there are no known actors in this. No one you would recognize. This was low budget, even by the standards of low budget. I do admit I got to get a kick out of that ray gun. It looks like something that was left over from like an old 50s Columbia serial, like The Lost Planet or Cat and Video, one of those. Has that kind of look to it. This is a very juvenile film. It's something I think kids would like. It's got that kind of humor in it. As you saw at the beginning with the werewolf whose pants fall off. You know, it's that kind of humor. And sometimes when you're in the mood for that, it's kind of fun. Not much acting-wise. It's obvious these people are not professionals. Although I do like the mad scientist because he just eats the scenery. He hams it up worse than Vincent Price ever did. Vincent Price was making those Poe films at the time, so, But, man, this is a crazy film. It's very short. It's only like 30 minutes. It was something that was kind of like meant to be played before a main feature, and it's kind of fun. There's no real ending to it. Because as I said, it wasn't intended as a full story. It's just a bunch of sight gags thrown together so that you can get to the main point of the blackout part. But all in all, it's very fun. And again, I find it very interesting as a artifact of the time. And it is a spoof of more serious haunted house films that were being made at the time, like The Haunting. And it is probably also meant to cash in on the whole beach party craze, in which they had films where the gang would run around a haunted house, like Ghost in the Invisible Bikini, or someone with the Tommy Kirk played a alien Pajama Party. Yeah, title, yeah. And as such, it's inoffensive, I guess you could say, and just silly. But it's a fun, silly little piece of fluff. Well, please hit like, share, and subscribe, and stay after the credits for my favorite scene.